Hi everyone, thanks for joining this session. I'm Carlos Arnal, Product Marketing Manager for Endpoint Security at WatchGuard, and today we will talk about how implementing specific protection technologies can help reinforce your client security posture and defend against ransomware attacks. But first, let's give some context and figures about ransomware. As you may know, ransomware attacks are increasing in volume and scope year over year, creating headline-making incidents affecting organizations worldwide. For example, the frequency and complexity of ransomware attacks increased by more than 150% during the last year. Besides, malicious actors are also looking at their victims' business partners to push them into paying a ransom to prevent data leakages or business disruptions caused by the cyber attack. As we will see later, they apply specific techniques to perpetrate their attacks. For example, 1 out of 2 ransomware attacks uses a combination of encryption and data theft to pressure victims to pay ransomware demands. When it comes to ransomware attacks, they can have multiple origins. Some happen by security gaps in systems, software, or a missed update. But they can be caused by an employee too, who unintentionally clicks on a malicious link. Either way, they are damaging and can cost organizations heavy fines, downtime, and a loss of customers and trust. Well, this information should be enough to prevent and set up a robust anti-ransomware strategy. But avoiding the possibility of not being operative and without access to systems and data is the most critical reason to take measures and help your customers to keep their business active and safe. Today's hackers use sophisticated tactics to bypass traditional ransomware detection technologies and hide in the target's environment. They move through the network seeking to steal data, install ransomware, and encrypt data. Once they have what they need, they threaten to sell or leak exfiltrated data or authentication information if the ransom is not paid. In order to understand what technologies we should put in place, it's important to know what tactics are used by cyber attackers and what patterns they follow in every stage of their ransomware attack. In the first stage of the attack, cybercriminals are also looking to gain access to the organization's network. In most incidents, they use one of the following infection vectors, like password theft, brute force, software vulnerability, or phishing. For example, malware is usually propagated through spear phishing emails that have malicious attachments coming from what seem legitimate sources or users within the organization. But we also have seen many ransomware incidents that start with attackers exploiting vulnerabilities in Internet-exposed services such as RDP, and in operating systems or third-party software vulnerabilities too. After sneaking in, the attacker will try to discover critical identities and obtain login credentials that let them keep moving forward bypassing traditional protection. Once they have gained access, threat actors require a variety of tools to carry out the attack. They either enter with malware containing a package of all the tools necessary for the attack, or download the required tools by establishing communication with a command and control server to move forward with the next attack steps. This communication is mostly done by trusted traffic like DNS. These command and control tools can also be used to discover other endpoints on the network to establish persistence on devices. This is known as lateral movement, where cybercriminals move laterally within the network to find vulnerable privileged accounts. Once the attackers get access to an account, network, or resource, they escalate the attack by leveraging that access to move through the infrastructure and gather additional privileges. Well, in this final stage of the attack, the ransomware has been downloaded and installed on the victim system and now starts doing what it was designed to do: exfiltrate sensitive information on the endpoint, destroy organization backups, and finally encrypt systems and data. Everyone knows that preventing the attack before it happens would be the best approach, but this is not always possible, and in most cases we take measures when it's too late, and the ransomware has started encrypting the files in laptops and computers. The costs associated with a ransomware attack are huge, so the best defense is prevention. So, by implementing different protection mechanisms, we will be adding extra security layer that will make hackers' pathways more difficult to spread the attack without being detected. Now let's see some tips and technologies that help in this process. First, use a strong password manager system. Password security is essential to protecting your organization's data, and it will help you to reduce the chances of a ransomware attack being successful. Admins will manage all their passwords under one master key, synchronize passwords, update passwords, avoid duplications, etc. The second, implement multi-factor authentication or MFA solution. As we have seen before, ransomware attacks usually start with the theft of a user credential that gives the hacker access to the network or a sensitive business account. With an MFA solution in place, even if one credential becomes compromised, unauthorized users will be unable to meet the second authentication requirement and they will not be able to gain access. When it comes to endpoint security, it's important that the solution implemented includes behavioral detection to prevent and block fileless attacks based on scripts embedded in Office files, as well as attackers using living off the land techniques. This technology spots the misusage of existing applications at the endpoint that try to bypass the security control and gain access to the system or move laterally to other endpoints. This is a highly effective protection against exploits taking advantage of web browser vulnerabilities and other common targeted applications such as Java, Office, etc. The code files are a honeypot to monitor if some specific files deployed by the endpoint solution are modified. If these files change, an event is sent to the behavioral detection engine, and it is likely that this action is classified as ransomware and the root process is killed, preventing the file's encryption on the endpoints. Anti-exploit technology. Anti-exploit technology includes generic detections based on the anomalous behavior of exploited processes. It is an important protection to prevent lateral movements because it adds virtual patching capabilities to an EDR solution. This complements perfectly with a patch management solution, which protects against unpatched applications or those applications that have reached the end of maintenance or end of life, like Windows X7 or Windows XP. Remote Desktop Protocol or RDP protection. RDP brute force attacks are one of the most frequent cyber attacks used by adversaries, especially where systems are directly exposed to the internet. When a computer receives many RDP connection attempts that fail due to invalid credentials, the security solution implemented should be able to put the computer into initial RDP attack containment mode. In this mode, RDP access to the computer is blocked from IPs outside the customer network to avoid this kind of attack. Anti-malware technologies. Many ransomware attacks will attempt to freeze the protection installed on endpoints before they try to spread over the network and encrypt files in the whole organization. That's why it is crucial to include ELAM and anti-tamper protection technologies against hackers trying to stop or suspend services and processes. Another one is patch management. Patch to reduce the attack surface. Hackers are constantly looking for holes and backdoors to exploit. Thanks to a patch management solution, you'll minimize the exposure to known vulnerabilities by periodically updating your systems. Remember that ransomware like WannaCry or Pedia react on unpatched vulnerabilities to spread around the globe. You can prevent many attacks by ensuring that the operating system and third-party applications are updated and patched. That's why it is essential to patch early and patch often, at least once a month, for critical vulnerabilities. Anti-phishing protection. Phishing via email is one of the most common methods for starting a ransomware attack. Blocking phishing URLs will help reduce the likelihood that a user clicks on a link that it shouldn't and compromise your environment. Threat hunting service. Even a robust EDR solution can rely on prevention technologies only for all detections. That's why identifying abnormal behavior and suspicious activity and categorizing them as indicators of attack is really important to contain and remediate them as soon as possible. And the last one is shadow copies. Apply remediation actions with shadow copies. Many attackers go one step further and apart from encrypting files, they try to destroy all kinds of backups created by admins. IT teams use shadow copies to recover files from critical system failures, but it also an excellent technology for recovering files encrypted by ransomware. If you combine this with anti-tampering technology, you will be well prepared to recover information after a ransomware infection and avoid business disruptions. While the goal of this session is to shortly show how the life cycle of a ransomware attack works and the security technologies involved, I strongly recommend you to take into account the following 10 measures, especially when implementing a comprehensive security strategy that helps you and your customers to have a solid defense and stay ahead of cyber attacks. Well, this has been an important part of the story, but if you want to learn more about it and how to implement these technologies to prevent it, don't forget to read the ebook on how to escape the ransomware maze. Thanks for watching.